A year ago today, I moved to London. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I made friends in London, all the different hobbies I did, all the ways I changed. So if you're watching this, you probably either know me or you're trying to find out how to make friends in London. I work in central London and I live in West London. I'm living alone for the first time. In New York, I lived in a 3-bedroom for all 4 years. During the pandemic, I lived with my parents. This is my first time living by myself in a studio flat. And I came to London with 2 suitcases. All the ways I made friends in London, in order of how well it worked for me. London Drinking Club. I found out about London Drinking Club, which has been going on for the last 3 years, through someone I met on a hike. He's been going for a long time. I started going regularly. It's every Tuesday at a pub near my office. 23 to 28 is the most common age range of people I've met there. I'm 30, so it's a little young for me, but I've made some good friends here. We've gone on day trips together, and I still see them on a regular basis. It's really nice to have something that you know, I'm going to see the same friend on Tuesday after work every week. That's how you build friendships, through consistency and contact. US alumni. This is an email list that my friend recommended to me. This email list markets events for anyone who has graduated from a US college. The last few events I attended were hosted by alumni from Cornell, NYU, and Brown. I've seen the same people at them, or I've invited the same people I've met from the last event that I went to. Again, for building friendships, it's important to see the same people on a regular basis, and hopefully you have something in common as well, whether that's your stage of life that you're in, your educational background, and your hobbies and interests. College alumni mailing list. I signed up for the Harvard Club. They have a lot of small events for alumni. Friends of friends. My friend in New York introduced me to her friend in London. He also invited me to a dinner party where I met some of his other friends, and it was really nice. And I still keep in touch with those people that I met through the dinner party. So tell all your friends from home that you're moving to London. Ask them to introduce you to people they know in London. Hopefully you'll be introduced to people who are similar in values, interests, educational background, stage of life, etc. Church. One of my friends here goes to Mayfair Christian Church. When I have gone, even though I'm not religious, I still had a really good time. After church, after the sermon, they'll meet at a nearby pub, chat, and that's another great way to see the same people at the same event and then have a chat afterwards, and you know that you share similar values because you're all going to church together. Hobbies. I'm a hobby hoarder, so I ice skate, I do improv comedy, I used to do stand-up, and those are all things that I've met a lot of great people through. In London, you definitely see the same people if you do improv. I was in London over the summer a year and a half ago. I still see the same people posting about improv shows. Eventually, if you do your hobbies long enough, you will get included in a community WhatsApp group, and then you can make plans from there. I used to go to writing gym, which is every week on Sundays at Angel.
I once had a guy invite me to a play he was in. It was really bad, and I made rude comments the entire time. He ended it because he said I acted so unacceptably he couldn't keep seeing me. Which was rich, because he was the one with the unacceptable acting.
A tip I have is, instead of asking somebody, what are your hobbies? Ask them about your hobbies and see if they share that same interest. That way, you're not putting someone on the spot by making them prove that they're interesting to you. You're just asking things like, do you like art? Do you go to galleries? Do you like writing? Anything where you can find out if they have a similar interest and then find out the activities they do around that interest, and then you can connect on that. And if you ask a bunch of your interests and they don't share any of them, then you say, well, how do you spend your time? And if you spend their time in ways that you're just not interested in, that's okay. Now you know there's no possible event that you could offer that both of you would be interested in. So that's not a strong basis for friendship. One tip about making friends through your hobbies is to make sure you do things that aren't just your hobbies with those people, because otherwise they're just your improv friend, they're just your stand-up friend, and you might end up losing touch with them because you might not do stand-up someday, which is what happened to me. Another event that I went to is Darkly. It's for people who really enjoy philosophy. I've heard about a lot of cool events through that. Kairos is one such group that talks about philosophy and climate change, which sounds like a very cool niche group to be part of. Meetup. Meetup is a platform where you can just meet people who share your interests. I use Meetup primarily for hiking groups because hiking is one of those things where I don't do it frequently enough to need to have a regular hiking group, and the transportation and the route will already be figured out for you, so it keeps my life easy. I've also gone to really niche groups on Meetup. One, which I thought was really well done, was a K-pop, K-drama enthusiast group. They also have a Discord, which I think is a great way to keep people in touch if you have an interest in a niche topic and want more people who share that interest. Internations. I actually paid for an Internation subscription so that I could go to the events. So Internations is all over the world. You meet a lot of people who are interested in travel because they have lived abroad at some point in their life. So you meet a lot of expats. But you also meet people who have lived in London for over 10 years. Internations, the folks I met, tended to skew a little bit older, so 30s to 40s. I met some really cool people through this. I also didn't tend to see the same people every single time I went. So because of that, I would end up prioritizing meetups where I knew I would end up seeing the same people over and over again. So my life pillars when I moved to London were comedy, ice skating, and work. Now, a year in, my pillars are art galleries, travel, and ice skating. Comedy ended up falling away because I didn't like how you have to pay to go to an open mic, and then you don't get paid even if you are performing at a show that's ticketed. And lastly, you have to bring a friend to a lot of these shows. So not only are you bringing a friend, they also need to buy a ticket or buy a drink. And I felt like that wasn't something I enjoyed. I also went to France and I did stand-up comedy there.
I learned if you want to be promoted, you tell someone, hey, I want to make VP in 3 years. Am I on the right track? So I went to my boyfriend and I said, I want to make wife in 3 years. Am I on the right track? And he said no, and then he fired me.
And even at the open mics, they're free, they're donation based, you don't have to bring a friend, and if you're performing, you get a cut of the donations at the end of the night. So after I came back to London, I just couldn't get back into the stand-up comedy scene because the comparison was so great. Plus in Paris, I see the same people at most of the shows. So I feel like it's a much more intimate community, and one that I feel a lot more connected to, even though I haven't done any shows in Paris in the last year. One question I would get asked a lot in London that I didn't ever get asked when I lived in New York was, how long do you think you're going to live here? People want to know if they should bother being friends with you because you might leave next year. I guess it's a much more transient place. Part of why I travel so much is to understand my friends better, to keep in touch with friends I've made in different countries, and to gain life experience. Reflecting on the last year, I'm just really grateful. I did a lot of random socializing to make friends, and I explored a lot. I went to a lot of different art galleries. I just prioritized all the late nights for every museum. I've been to most of them. A lot of the times when you live abroad and you travel, the main takeaway is not some aha moment about yourself. It's just knowing how to do basic things. I'm really glad that I moved to London. Thanks for watching.